Ms. Valdez-Lark's engagement is on the brink of collapse as she's in court to know if her fiancé has truly fathered another woman's baby. If he did, it's over, but if he didn't, then maybe there's a chance they would be able to work on their relationship.
Ms. Valdez-Lark, you claim your engagement to your fiancé, Mr. Slater, is on hold until you determine today if he cheated on you and fathered his ex's one-year-old daughter, Harmony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pitts comes in hot, revealing Mr. Slater is still all about her physically as he's still trying to get close to her. However, Mr. Slater denies being the biological baby and also tries to still have anything to do with Ms. Pitts. Anyway, we will find out who's telling the truth real soon.
So, Ms. Valdez-Lark, I'll start with you. How did you find out Ms. Pitts was pregnant and claiming your fiancé was the father?
Back in September 2012, I received a phone call from their 12-year-old daughter. She was like, I'm pregnant by Robert. So I'm like,
that's a lie, Your Honor.
Wow.
That's a lie.
Ms. Valdez-Lark got to know about the situation by accident, and she has been involved in it since then. However, Ms. Pitts said the story didn't go as Ms. Valdez-Lark was trying to narrate it. It's still hard to know the truth about this story too. Whew, but what's with the adoption papers anyway?
When I was having my baby, the adoption parents was at the hospital with me.
Ms. Pitts, you were considering adoption.
Yes, ma'am.
And you needed the father to sign off, be informed, etc. So you were making this call for that reason.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. Ms. Pitts was trying to put the newborn baby up for adoption, as she wasn't even interested in going back and forth over the paternity of the baby. Me Pitts just needed him to sign off on the papers. However, Mr. Slater wasn't home, and his wife found out the mess her husband had made in his absence.
Going on that they started back fooling around in May 2012. Started back messing with him when he already don't take care of the child that y'all already have together.
These women keep talking over each other and won't even allow the judge to hear what they are saying clearly. But Ms. Valdez-Lark made a valid point, because why would Ms. Pitts still allegedly go ahead to have another child with Mr. Slater when he wasn't even taking care of the first one they had together?
Yes, I did by my husband, Your Honor.
Okay, what I want to understand is, did he doubt paternity?
When I first told him, no, ma'am, he didn't say, well, that's not my baby, and he didn't say any of that.
Mr. Slater didn't deny the baby, but it didn't seem like he was ready to accept the baby either. Ms. Pitts considered adoption, but she ended up not giving her baby up for adoption because her husband told her not to. Ms. Pitts' husband stepped up to the plate in regards to taking care of her baby.
Do you believe you're the father?
No.
You don't?
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I haven't had sex with her.
Why would she just come up with your name like you the father?
Because she obsessed with me.
Why would
Every
I
relationship
Damn. Mr. Slater claimed Ms. Pitts was obsessed, and that was her reason for trying to pin the pregnancy on him. Mr. Slater topped it all off with the unnecessary tag he gave Ms. Pitts to further prove Ms. Pitts sleeps around and probably she just didn't know who exactly her baby daddy was. Me Slater seems harsh towards Ms. Pitts. He better be saying the truth though.
What happened when you found out Ms. Pitts was pregnant?
I told her come and get him and his stuff and get him out. He didn't want to go. I ain't going nowhere with that age. I ain't. You said you'll be a fool to sit there believe anything she...
Ms. Valdez-Lark reveals how Mr. Slater has had a lot of negative things to say about Ms. Pitt behind her back, but newsflash, Ms. Valdez-Lark, Ms. Pitt claimed Mr. Slater was doing the same thing behind Ms. Valdez-Lark. However, Ms. Valdez-Lark claimed she couldn't break off their engagement anymore due to having a baby. The love doesn't seem rigid enough though, because why would Ms. Valdez-Lark pawn the rings off?
You go pick him up?
Yes, ma'am.
From where?
How she pick me up and I be with Sakina?
Your Honor, he's a lie. You can't, I mean, she want to
She
believe
a lie, Your Honor. You can't believe
I ain't
nothing
believing
she
nobody
say.
right now, y'all.
Your Honor.
I'm believing
lying.
only me right now today.
Say, I'm sorry, Ms. Valdez-Lark.
I'm not believing neither one of them. Only somebody I'm believing is me.
Whew. So everybody is a liar as they just revealed to the court. Ms. Pitts lies, Mr. Slater lies, and Mr. Slater isn't letting Ms. Valdez-Lark off the hook as he says she's also a liar. Okay, Mr. Slater testified that he couldn't remember the last time he had a sexual encounter with Ms. Pitts. Let's get the result. Maybe that would help everyone refresh their memory.
Mr. Slater, you are her father.
Keep on lying. Now play with it. Go on, marry if I don't get it. Go on, marry him.
No one ever wishes for a bad mother-in-law, as that could be more suffocating than a bad husband. But people like Ms. Martin tend to have such an unfortunate fate. But is Ms. Autry really a bad mother-in-law? Or Miss Martin is the problem here? Let's find out.
Miss Autry, you say the defendant is taking advantage of your son by pinning a baby on him, that her 2-year-old daughter, Skyla, is not your grandchild. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Martin, you claim that the plaintiff is a monster-in-law and is denying your daughter only because she doesn't like you.
Ow! The tag given to Ms. Autry is a monster-in-law. That's insane. However, Ms. Autry claims Ms. Martin is the bad one who is taking advantage of her son in their relationship.
Ms. Autry, why do you feel Ms. Martin is taking advantage of your son?
Well, she entrapped my son by marrying him, giving him things like money.
You say she entrapped him, but she's giving him money. She's doing this for what? To what end? What does she want
She
from
wanted a man of her own.
Ms. Autry claimed Ms. Martin entrapped her son by giving him some worldly possessions, but hey, how does anyone who is content with what he has, or what his family has, get entrapped with that? This isn't voodoo or some type of magic, Ms. Autry. Your son must have liked the things he was getting or something, ma'am.
Ms. Martin? She says you entrapped her son. Did you do that?
No.
Were you buying him cars and all these things, giving him money and all of this?
He did the same for me in return.
Okay,
He
so
didn't have no job, so he do the same thing in return. He
He
didn't have
did
no
the
job.
same.
He don't even work.
He did the same thing, Miss Autry.
No, he didn't. He don't even have a job.
Yes, he did.
Ms. Martin claims she didn't entrap Ms. Autry's son, and as a matter of fact, Ms. Autry's son reciprocated every good gesture and gifts she gave to him. Well, Mr. Autry's mother strongly denies that since she believed her son didn't have a job. Never say never, Ms. Autry. Also, Ms. Autry is a party pooper since she tried to ruin Ms. Martin and her son's wedding.
explain to me what's going
I got
on.
a phone call that she was getting married down the street from my house. So I got out of my bed and I started walking down the street to where she was getting married at. A friend seen me walking and she offered me a ride.
How did you find out she was getting married?
Someone called me and told me.
Your son didn't tell you?
No.
No, he didn't tell me.
Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus! The entire plan has to be remade just because of Ms. Autry? Oh yeah, she's crazy for real like Ms. Martin mentioned. Ms. Autry really did try to stop the wedding, and not only that, the venue was changed. That's a bit too much for anyone to handle, hence the monster-in-law tag for Ms. Autry.
So you've never cared for Miss Martin?
It ain't so much as I never cared for Miss Martin. It's just that she has been very disrespectful from day one.
She's the same way. I mean, what do you want me to do? You disrespect me all the time.
Well, you came into my home and disrespected me.
But you disrespected me first.
Ms. Autry says her major problem with Ms. Martin is that she is very disrespectful towards her. That seems to be a two-way street because Ms. Martin also claims Ms. Autry is quite disrespectful towards her. So who's going to tell Ms. Autry that respect is reciprocal?
So once you came in,
I ain't
you were in
gonna find a
pain.
baby.
Hold on. Once you came in, you were in pain. Miss Autry said, "This isn't my child." Somebody came in and said, "If you keep acting up, we're gonna put you out." What happens, Miss Martin?
She was acting crazy. She was out in the hospital saying, "That ain't none of my son's baby. That ain't none of my son's baby. You lying."
Ms. Autry did what? Ms. Autry's craziness is on a whole new level. Going to the hospital to tell the whole world her son isn't Ms. Martin's baby daddy is ridiculous. Putting Ms. Autry out of the hospital is the least of what should have been done in that situation, but that was effective enough anyway.
Miss Autry, you
Look at
said
the
the
toes.
baby's toes don't cross over.
Look
Nope,
at the,
they don't
yes,
left
they
over
do.
like
look
this.
At the, look at the right foot.
That little right one is kind of hedging over though.
Yes,
But it
exactly.
ain't all the way
Your
over there. That's not
Honor.
his baby.
Exactly.
It's gotta be fully crossed.
Yes, ma'am.
She only 2. I mean, give
Okay.
it time. The toes got to grow. Let them develop first.
Ms. Autry says the baby doesn't have body features like her son. From crossed toes to curly eyelashes, Ms. Autry believes that's enough for her to believe that the baby isn't her grandchild. Ms. Martin, on the other side, says Ms. Autry should give the baby the grace of growing older for those features to show.
So, Mr. God, how did you get a notion that this could be your child?
Because we had sex unprotected.
That baby.
Did she ever tell you you are the father?
Once when we was on the phone,
When you were on the phone?
Yes.
What did she say?
she was just telling me like it's a possibility that the baby could be mine.
She could be here. Look at his
I didn't
eyebrows. Look at
tell
her
her
eyebrows.
So there's another potential father? Wow. Ms. Martin really had us believing there was no one else in the picture. Maybe Ms. Autry knew what she was doing after all, even though her approach might have been too harsh. Let's get to the result, to know if Ms. Autry is crazy indeed, or if her maternal instincts have been right all along.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Martin or Mr. God is the father of 2-year-old Skyla Martin. The biological father is Mr. Martin.
I'll take that for 200, Your Honor. I told you.
Apologies in paternity court are supposed to be mandatory because of how some folks keep lying in the victim's face. However, one can never be sure of the victim until the end when the DNA test result shows who really is lying or telling the truth.
Ms. Garnett, you and your mother, Ms. Miller, have opened your case to prove to the defendant that he is your biological father. Mr. Langston, you claim you have always known you weren't Ms. Garnett's biological father and feel after the results are revealed, you are the one who deserves an apology. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Garnett claims she's baffled the man she had believed all her life to be her father is denying her all of a sudden, and she deserves an apology when the result shows she's his daughter. But Mr. Langston is on the opposing side saying he knows he's not the father, and he's the one that deserves an apology. Let's find out who deserved that apology in this case.
It started with a text message about a couple months ago. That wasn't the very beginning, but this is why we're here. The text message brought us here, and this is the evidence that I brought in today.
Oh, okay.
Can I give it to you?
Please, Jerome. So this started with a text.
A text message from Mr. Langston led Ms. Garnett to find out the man she has believed to be her father may not be her biological father. Mr. Langston caused a wound in Ms. Garnett's heart by telling her she should have a heartfelt talk with her mother to know who her real father is.
You sent this text message, Mr.
Yes,
Langston?
Your Honor, I did.
So why were you estranged for 2 years? What happened?
We live in different states, Your Honor, but we had always been close. I went to visit him in Chicago for a funeral, and everything was great. But when I returned back home, I don't know what happened. He just cut off communication.
Mr. Langston agreed to send the text, and that was because he was done holding how he felt to his heart. Mr. Langston wanted the truth to be out, and it seemed like Ms. Garnett's mother was never going to tell Ms. Garnett what Mr. Langston believes to be the truth.
One day, she used to live out south. I came through the back. Her auntie downstairs let me in. I walked upstairs. I didn't knock on the door. I looked in. I see this guy sitting on the couch with her, like he running this game to get up on something. I knocked on the door. I said, what's going on?
Mr. Langston's reason for having doubts was an incident that had happened before Ms. Garnett was born. Yeah, that incident seemed suspicious and could have meant what Mr. Langston thought, but Ms. Garnett's mother said the man was a family friend and she was never intimate with him.
What other doubts do you have?
I gotta play cuz. She immediately told me, cause I pressured her. Did you do anything with him? She kept saying no. Then she came around. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. Yeah, I gave him some because he kept knocking on the door bad. So I finally gave in and gave him some.
Mr. Langston went as far as swearing in his dead father that Ms. Garnett's mother indeed told him that she gave in and allowed the man to have something with her. Ms. Garnett's mother denies that ever happened and says Mr. Langston must have mixed her up with somebody else. But ma'am, that man just swore on his dead father.
Ms. Miller, when you got pregnant, you knew he was the biological father?
I knew he was he was the only one I was sleeping with.
He knew, didn't he?
He the one told me he told me upon conceiving that I was pregnant.
It's now Mr. Langston's turn to play the role of forgetting about a conversation he and Ms. Garnett's mother had in the past. Ms. Langston didn't participate in Ms. Garnett's birth or sign her birth certificate, but he got the checks for child support, and there's no way he can dodge that. However, Ms. Garnett believes he should have asked for a DNA test right there and then.
So, Ms. Garnett, tell Mr. Langston how you do feel in this moment.
When he sent that text to me, I cried my hardest cry.
Oh, baby, don't do that.
I was devastated. I felt like he was taking my identity away from me.
Getting lost in circles or getting lost in Chicago doesn't mean he's the father, but that's a rare similarity anyway. According to Ms. Garnett's mother, she was crushed when Mr. Langston said he wasn't her father. Yeah, that could be devastating, but the truth needs to be told.
Mr. Langston?
Listen, I didn't want to hurt her. When I had that phone and did that text, it crushed me when I pushed that button, because I know what the effect was going to have on her. And I don't want to send her through that because I love her.
Ms. Langston claimed he also didn't feel good or happy sending the text to Ms. Garnett. He just wanted to let out his feelings to avoid having any resentment towards anybody. It's high time we know who truly deserves an apology.
Mr. Langston, you are not the father.
are not the father?
He is not her biological father.
Now don't look at me. Ask her who your daddy really is.
Ms. Jones-Henry is in paternity court, but it's not business as usual. Ms. Jones-Henry's daughter's potential father has a lot of explaining to do. And here is how that case starts.
Ms. Jones-Henry, you say that the defendant, Mr. Jackson, swept you off your feet only to dump you after finding out you were pregnant. But you are positive he is the biological father of your daughter, Melanie. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Jones-Henry has not seen Mr. Jackson since she informed him about the pregnancy. The same applies to Ms. Jones-Henry's daughter, as she has not seen her potential father since she's been born. Mr. Jackson walks in like he doesn't give a damn about their emotions. Let's dig deeper.
And Melanie, how are you feeling right now in this moment, Ms. Jones?
I'm hurt. I feel a little lost, unwanted. This is my first time ever even seeing him. I've never even seen him up, hugged him or anything, and I called him when I was little and asked him to come and see me, and he told me he would come, and he never came.
Miss Jones gets so emotional about Mr. Jackson not being there even when he said he'd show up. Mr. Jackson didn't show up, and he made Miss Jones miss having a father in her life. Miss Jones-Henry also shared her daughter's emotional distress.
I don't believe I'm her father. I never did. I know she's been with other people even while we were together, so.
Excuse me, may I address it? It's not true.
She admitted that she's with someone else. I tricked her into admitting that she was with someone else.
Ow! Mr. Jackson claimed he tricked Ms. Henry Jones into admitting she slept with someone else, and that was how he knew for sure he wasn't the father. Even though Mr. Jackson already had his doubts, his trick working on Ms. Jones-Henry was the icing on the cake.
I've always told her Clarence was her father and felt that Clarence was her father and knew.
That's because I was the only one she could get hold of. The guy that she was supposed to have been with, she couldn't find him, so then she came to me.
Ms. Jones-Henry denies ever telling Mr. Jackson that there was another potential father, but Mr. Jackson nullifies her statement saying there were so many guys that she didn't remember, and to make matters worse, Mr. Jackson says Ms. Henry Jones used him as her last option when the other guy was unavailable.
I met her, we had a good time. We talked that night that I met her. By the time I got off the phone, she was telling me, I could fall in love with you, which was a red flag to me. Like, oh no, here we go.
So wait a minute, okay, but did you sleep with her after that phone conversation?
After the phone conversation, yes, we had.
The red flag wasn't bright enough to avoid having anything to do with Ms. Jones-Henry at the time until she got pregnant. That was when Mr. Jackson knew it was time to follow the red flag rule of dumping the person. Mr. Jackson didn't even react to the pregnancy news. That's cold.
How did you find out if you weren't there for the birth and you weren't there to sign this birth certificate? How did you find out you were on child support?
I got a letter.
So you got a letter?
At the time, my check started getting garnished. I was getting like $35 every 2 weeks. Well, at that time, a girl in our finance department.
Mr. Jackson thought he could get away without being involved in the child's life, but child support really does have their ways. When Mr. Jackson's checks were getting garnished, he instantly knew what he was in for.
I stood with her. I was there when she cried. I was there when she asked for you. I was there when she wanted you, and you didn't want to be with her.
And so, Mr. Jackson, you just said something in open court right now. You just said in court, she was your meal ticket. Do you believe that Ms. Jones-Henry was just trying to set you up to be the father because you were this military man?
I believe so, and that was my problem right from the start.
Did Mr. Jackson just call Ms. Melanie a meal ticket in open court? That's completely out of line regardless of whatever had transpired between Mr. Jackson and Ms. Jones-Henry. Ms. Melanie says she wouldn't do that to any of her children, and she can't understand why Mr. Jackson is currently doing that to Get.
When he signed that affidavit acknowledging paternity, did you think that that was basically an acknowledgement even to you? Like, yes, Melanie is mine after all these years. I just want to say,
and the other person I know would have fought. They would have came.
So you're saying you never had any doubts because there were no other men?
I never had any doubts.
Ms. Jones-Henry keeps repeating the same thing every time, saying she doesn't have any doubts about her daughter's father, as she knows for sure Mr. Jackson is her father. Let's find out if that's true.
Mr. Jackson, you are not the father.
Really? I didn't have anybody else.
He is not the father.
I did not.
You point all that blame on me, and you put your daughter through all that for nothing.
It's not every day we get to see fathers wanting children to be their biological children in paternity court. In fact, most of the time, the fathers are always denying paternity, but in this case, it's the opposite of the usual way.
Mr. Matthews, you say you've made many mistakes in your life, but the worst is not being a good dad to the defendant's daughter, Kiana. You are here to prove the truth. Ms. Shaw, you admit your daughter believed that Mr. Matthews was her dad, but now stand in court to prove that another man is her biological father.
Mr. Matthews wants Ms. Shaw's daughter to be his biological daughter, even though he has made mistakes in the past. Ms. Shaw says the notion about her daughter believing Mr. Matthews is a biological father is true, but she now agrees with her mother that another man is her biological father.
Mr. Matthews, you say you've made mistakes. Tell me about that.
When I was younger, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, so I can understand that Ms. Thompson would want to act the way she does. When I tried to reach out to her on Facebook, she was kind of angry at me because of my episodes in my life.
So you're saying you were not a good father?
Not at all.
Mr. Matthews wholeheartedly accepts his mistakes as he knew deep down those mistakes made him a bad father, and he wouldn't blame Ms. Shaw and her daughter, Ms. Thompson. That's fair.
I tried to make things right a long time ago. I tried to get a DNA test. And when we went before the magistrate, he looked at me and told him that he never slept with me.
Yes, it was true because
you told the magistrate you had never had a sexual relationship with Ms. Shaw.
I would say that I was a womanizer and went in there and lied.
That's shocking, but they wouldn't be the first married people to cheat on their spouses anyway. However, Mr. Matthews lying about ever sleeping with Ms. Shaw must have struck a nerve in her body, including the one that she wouldn't want to have anything to do with him anymore.
Ms. Shaw, I want to know from that point, you decided I'm not even going to be bothered with trying to prove that he is my daughter's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
But did you know for certain that he was, or did you say that because you knew you had a paternity doubt, but you just weren't going to be bothered with him because he lied?
He was not the only man that I had slept with.
Ms. Shaw agreed to have other sexual partners when she had conceived her daughter, and she also made her daughter know. Ms. Shaw is honest about her dealings. She was even going to get the DNA out of the way, but Mr. Matthews lied in court saying he had never slept with Ms. Shaw, and she moved on.
That is not what even happened. Because when she first told me that I was the dad, I didn't want to believe it because I was doing my own things. But every time I turned around, I was bringing you fish sandwiches when you was pregnant. Every time you turn around, you was like, babe, I'm hungry. And at the time, you had a husband, and here it is. Wait a minute, okay, but you had threw him out.
Rubbing of the stomach and feeding sandwiches during pregnancy? It sounds like these two were in love and had forgotten about their spouses anytime they were together. They are even reminiscing and laughing about it. That's a new one in paternity court.
My husband was still in and out at the same time when I got pregnant, but that 6 months, I had threw him out of the house. So he had him another girl, I went and got me 4 other guys. That's what I did. It was a choice, but I was young and dumb. Didn't have a full understanding of the damage it could cause till many years later.
4 other guys? Oh, scratch that. They weren't in love. Or rather, Ms. Shaw wasn't in love since she had about 3 other guys, apart from Mr. Matthews, who she was allegedly carrying his baby.
Mr. Matthews was the man you wanted to be your father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why him?
It was just the way that I saw him with his other kids.
When's the last time you saw Mr. Matthews?
I was a junior in high school, so it's been about 14 years.
So, Mr. Matthews, your testimony is true. You've been a pretty bad dad.
Yeah, I was a terrible father.
Ms. Shaw's daughter wanted Mr. Matthews to be her daddy, seeing how he treated his other kids. However, Mr. Matthews was a pretty bad father to her, and he agrees.
I didn't know that you two were still together.
We wasn't. We were still married. So if anytime he come over, yes, he can come and stay.
Every time I came over there, you made me feel like I was comfortable at your house.
If I tell you to
cooking
come,
dinner.
I'm cooking dinner. I'm sitting up there welcoming you because that's my house.
Mr. Matthews and Ms. Shaw have some unfinished business for real, like the judge highlighted. They still can't seem to get enough of each other. However, that's their business, because we are in court today for Ms. Thompson. Let's find out if Mr. Matthews is her biological father.
Mr. Brooks is not her father. What are you feeling in this moment, Ms. Shaw?
That's what she needed. If he the father, he not gonna be there.
Mr. Matthews, you are not the father. I'm so sorry, Kiana.
Wow.
Neither gentleman is her biological father.
She'll always be mine no matter what.
Having sexual relations with other people while in a relationship has consequences most of the time, but then again, some people go scot-free. Will Mr. Morton be able to go scot-free if the consequences of his actions will have him hooked? Let's find out.
Ms. Parker, in your suit, you claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Morton, you say the timing of Ms. Parker's pregnancy doesn't add up, and when today's DNA results come in, you will win the case because you're not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Parker claims she birthed a miracle baby, who Mr. Morton is the biological father, but Mr. Morton thinks otherwise because of his partner who is currently unable to give birth. Ms. Parker says she's turning Mr. Morton against her, while Mr. Morton says he knows for sure he's not the father because the conception date doesn't match the delivery date.
So, Ms. Parker, how did you end up having sex with Mr. Morton if he has a girlfriend?
First of all, Your Honor, that's my baby father. Anytime I want to have sex with him, I'm going to have sex with him. You understand? Like, I was vulnerable. He called me, so, you know, we did what we did.
Sorry, what was that now? A consensual threesome? That's wild, Ms. Parker. Oh wait, the other two people in the same stand are involved. From baby daddy to threesomes and bisexual relationships? Whew, no one saw that coming.
Your Honor, the only reason why she was able to have sex with us is because I asked my boyfriend to have sex with her because she was lonely. My desires, me and my little freakiness, I said, my boyfriend, can you have sex with your pregnant baby mother because she's in need?
Pause, Your Honor.
How would she know if she's not there?
This is so messy and Mr. Morton is just there standing like he isn't the one they are going back and forth about. Mr. Morton's girlfriend says she's in control of the entire relationship, while Ms. Parker says she knows how to twist the reins to favor herself. Okay, that's interesting.
Ms. Parker, Ms. Lemon, Mr. Morton, you all agree that you were all in a sexual relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you also are in an agreement that there's a possibility that this could be your child?
It could not be my child because the timing is not right at all.
Mr. Morton finally used his voice. Oh, good. Mr. Morton claimed even though they had an agreement about the sexual relationship, he didn't agree that he fathered Ms. Parker's son. Mr. Morton's doubt comes from the conception dates not tallying with the delivery date as previously mentioned.
Ms. Parker, when was the last time you were intimate with someone else before that May 11th period when you were intimate with Mr.
The only person, Your Honor, I allowed you not. The only person that I have unprotected sex with was my baby father, wasn't Mr. Morton.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Your Honor.
That's a lie.
She clocking
We down, yep, I'm clocking it.
You
just
can't
like you
clock
clock
it,
mine.
though,
I
baby.
can.
You can't.
Ms. Parker had sex with somebody else, but she claims it was after she was already pregnant with her baby. Ms. Lemon is doing a better job than Mr. Morton denying the baby, which could be Mr. Morton's biological child.
Your testimony, Ms. Parker, is that you weren't intimate with anyone else during that time?
I did not have unprotected sex. Yes, that's what I said.
Were you having sex with anyone?
Are you serious? Your Honor, listen, I do what I do. I love me. You understand me? I don't have unprotected sex with nobody but the ones that I trust.
Ms. Parker says she only goes raw with the people she trusts, and Mr. Morton and his partner are the only ones on that list at that time, so she knows her onions. Ms. Parker also added that the couple is confusing her pregnancy for her previous boyfriend, which resulted in a miscarriage of the pregnancy that led to her son's birth.
He loved kids. I know he loved children. I gave this man his first child. I know this. You understand what I'm saying?
She feel like she holds seniority. She don't.
Once again,
It don't matter.
Like I said,
it don't matter.
I know, but like I said, this is not the first situation.
Ms. Parker says she knows Mr. Morton so well, apparently even more than Ms. Lemon, who is his girlfriend, knows him. Ms. Parker believes Mr. Morton is happy about the birth of her son, but Ms. Lemon wouldn't allow him to bask in the glory of it, and hence their blowout on paternity court.
Ms. Dunlap, you are?
I'm Mr. Morton's mother.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
You're Mr. Morton's mother?
Yes.
What do you have to add, ma'am?
Well, for the most part, as far as support system, when she first had baby Aaron, she's Eric's sister, Mr. Morton's sister.
And her mother.
And excuse me, I'm talking.
It don't matter.
So therefore.
Did you just let her disrespect your mother?
Yeah, real bad.
I'm sorry, I had to catch that.
Ms. Lemon's disrespect is through the roof. Mr. Morton's mother seems to be on Ms. Parker's side, which means she thinks the baby is her grandson. Okay, enough of this entanglement story that doesn't seem like it would end on a positive note. Let's see what's in store for the baby in question.
Mr. Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. I told you, like, I'm not no, come on. Thank you. I need that paper so I can go down child support tomorrow morning when I get up.
Ms. Parker, you came to court with a suit in the amount of $2,047. Mr. Morton is, in fact, baby Aaron's biological father, which means you are legally obligated